Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa. Hope you're all having a wonderful and creative day. And today we are going to play with tissue paper and make our Tim Holtz inspired tissue papers. Now I've done this before and I decided I wanted to do it again because all I have left from my original one is these little pieces. I've used quite a bit of them. And as you can see, I did play with it. And I have actually used a piece of this one already. But what's going to be different from the last time I did it is, obviously I've got some new stamps from my last haul where I got my birds and I got my butterflies. Very excited about those. And there's a little bit of flowers in there. Very exciting. I'm also going to be using my Tim Holtz stamps that I have. I have field notes, eccentric, correspondence, and my ticket booth. I don't want to separate them because they're all falling off the plastic, so I got to keep them like this. Put those back up that way and use some of those. I am going to be using my VersaFine Clear. When I did this one, I used the background that I had, like the music and the words. I did use the Nocturne at first, which is the darker black one, and there's very small hints of the lighter one in the background where I did some stamping with, I've got this sheet of indescript kind of lettering. I did that in the Morning Mist, but what I think I'm going to do for the next one is any of these bigger backgrounds like the words and the music. I'm going to use the Morning Mist, and then the more prominent ones that I want to use, like the butterflies or any of the Tim Holtz stamps, I'm going to use in the Nocturne to make them stand out, as well as a different kind of coloring technique. In that last batch that I did, this original one, I had taken some of my ink, inked it onto the stamp, and then stamped it. On this one that I played with, after I black stamped everything, I flipped it over and I used my alcohol markers to color it in. On this side, the ink does seep through a bit, but it seemed to work just fine. It didn't bleed as much as I thought it could because the alcohol spreads. But yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. I didn't do every place, obviously, just hints of color. So we're going to play with that as a different way to do it. So yeah, I think we're just going to mass make a bunch of sheets to have, because I love using them. So let's get through, let's get started. Okay, I forgot to mention earlier about the tissue paper. Now, this tissue paper was just from a big, huge, like bulk pack of white tissue paper that you get by the party supplies where you put the gift bags. And it was just, however it was folded, I took that fold and I cut, because you can open them up, and I cut the first one off, and then I took those folds and I just kept cutting them down. So that's how this piece became this size. So I have a whole pile of them, because that is basically, maybe it was two folds and I just opened it up. It was in the packaging, and that is what I used for the tissue paper. So we're just gonna start with a sheet here. Get this off of here. Now there is, it might be hard to tell. You can kind of feel a little bit more. There's a grittier side and there is a silkier side for these. I did, for my sample one, I did stamp on the silkier side. I'm going to try to stamp on the grittier side for this one to see if there's any difference of it. But you can definitely, and it could be just this specific tissue paper, maybe not all of them. But it did take a minute for that VersaFine Clear to dry. And maybe if it's on the grittier side, it won't take as long to dry. But I also might find out that it spreads more. So this is going to kind of be a little bit of a test for this practice, but I have lots to play with, as they say. Okay, so smooth, gritty. So gritty side up. Now like I said, we're going to start with the Morning Mist to do some backgrounds. And let's just start with the music. Let's get it going the right way before I start. And we're just going to stamp some backgrounds. Yeah, the last time I had made that original pile, I did not have either one of these background stamps. And I looked for them, and I decided to get them because if you look at the Tim Holtz strips he has. He's got a lot of these kind of backgroundish looks on there. And, you know, ledger ones, which I don't have. I'm still looking for those and stuff like that. So, yeah, this is a little bit more subtle. I'm using my paper that I had for my distress spray off. I figured if it gets a little bit of inks on there, it's not going to be as big of a deal because I can end up cutting these up and using them as backgrounds for tags or something like that. So, yeah, fun. All right, let me get these on the other side here. So I got some place to just stamp off a little bit. Okay, let's do some of the words. Now the other thing I was thinking of doing, and I haven't done it yet, was to make a kind of a screen of like stamp the butterfly on something a little bit heavier so that I can like put that down on a piece of paper and then stamp over it. And maybe I'll, ooh, that was almost off. Maybe I'll do that real quick. There we go. Let's use this one as like a guide, or there's a word for it, and it's just escaping me. And I can use this one. I don't need a perfect image. I just need an approximate size. And my scissors cut out. I'm thinking it's the word relief, or just something to block it so that when it gets stamped, it doesn't stamp this spot, and then you can put the, oh, you'll see what I'm talking about. Boy, the words are escaping me today. All right, we're gonna keep the antenna spot clean so we can stamp the antennas. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stamp some words over here. I'm going to put that down as a block. And we're going to stamp on there. All right, so now I've got this spot where I can take my butterfly. There we go. And use my darker ink. And I can stamp there. So now the words are around it and not below it. Yeah, I like it. All right, so we'll do this one up here. And it's hard to tell, but I mean, it's okay. The music notes are below the butterfly, and you can sort of see a little bit of the words, but over here, he is a clean imprint. Yeah, I like that butterfly a lot. All right, let's give it one more. Let's give it one more shot up here and call that one. All right, let's close some lids before I get my elbows all in everything, and we'll save that. And I probably should try to figure out how to save it with these, so I don't have to keep making it. You know, keep that with it. Okay, all right, let's add a bird. Okay, I think let's add, I did not, oh my gosh, I obviously did not use all of them when I made the last batch, so. And I could do the same thing with the bird, make a little blocking thing for it, but didn't think of it in time, so we're gonna put the bird there. looking that way. Okay. Nice. All right, so let's find some there's a flower. Let's use the flower. And right there. Okay. All right, let's get some of the Tim Holtz ones. All right, let's do a little bit of a ticket. And I don't mind using the same stamp in quite a few places because these get ripped off into tiny little pieces to be added places. They do not necessarily ever get on the same thing. I'm just going to do the second print there. So it is okay, I think, to use it multiple times. It also makes it go by a little bit faster. All right, let's use some numbers because I love the numbers. This Versifying Clair is usually pretty juicy, that I can get 2 prints out of one without too much of a problem. Put some numbers up there. Put a couple numbers down there. Okay. All right, let's, you know, I'm not going to use that one. I think that one's going to be too black. I do letter. The ink is so dark that I don't want to necessarily use something that's too solid. All right, stay there. And that worked. Yeah, I like that. Okay. We're gonna have to definitely make more of those. What's the word? I'll figure it. I swear I'll figure it out. All right, let's use some roundness. Give it a little bit of a something different. Make sure it's going the right way. And a little bit up there. Okay, we're getting somewhere. All right, so when I said mass make, I'm thinking I was a little bit more generous than I thought I could be. I almost kind of forget how long these take. So There we go. Sorry, I get quiet. I'm still all thinking about where I want to put something. I am also looking for interesting kind of shapes to make something a little bit different. Not all strips are the same, but nice big 5 on there. I love it. I think 5 can sneak in there. And a 5 can sneak in there. Bottom of the 5 there, because it's a fun little with the lines. There we go. Okay, let's see what else. One of my favorite, Finest in the World. I think that's always a nice addition. I like the skinniness of the letters. Okay, well, I think if this was a plain piece of paper, I probably would keep adding smaller stuff in here to fill it out. But it is not, and I think what I could do is take a bit of just these thinner words, find my lighter gray, and put some, I find a spot that needs a little bit of something in there, just to fill it out. And let's use a different font size just to fill some more out. And a little over there. And a little up there. Okay. I think it's pretty good. All right, so now to the part with the coloring. Let me get this blocked. And all right, so I grab my alcohol markers. Come up there. And all right, so and this did seem to dry fairly quickly on this side, so I think we're going to be good to go. And let's take and draw on this side. Now I'm thinking that maybe this is like a breast of a robin, maybe, and draw in there. I like it. And color in its head a little bit. And should I give it a fancy color? I should say I give it a fancy color, like a it doesn't have to be realistic, right? With a little blue. All right, so I'm gonna paint this guy blue. Yeah, I think we'll add a little bit of blue to the wings of the butterfly. Now keep in mind, and I haven't shown on this, is this bleeds through on here because it's so thin. So make sure you got something underneath this stamping and with, for sure, the alcohol inks, because they are watery. Okay, let's add a little bit of yellow. Now this butterfly has a lot more tinier spots. When I did this one, he's got more definite bigger spots, so I could just color in those circles a little bit different versus the full back for him. So yeah, I like it. All right, let's add a little color to him. I think he could be purple. Now I could wait, and when I'm going to add it to rip this off and add it to a card, I could at that point decide if I wanted to, what color I wanted to make it, because I wanted to go with something. There, purple and blue rings, and a little purple to that flower. Now I am using the very lightest colors, but let's use a little bit more darker color. And let's see if I can color one of these numbers in. Let's see if I get, how about a nice bright green? And this is probably not going to show too much because there's a lot of ink on this, but remember it does bleed a little, so we got to be careful. Probably could be using my thinner side. And I also got to be careful because since this is wetting the tissue paper, that I got to be careful that I don't go and rip it. Okay, oops. All right, so that is the back of the 5. Now let's see how the front looks. You pick it up. Look how cool that looks. Since you back painted it, I love it compared to the other one. Very cool. And there's my bird and the butterfly. My purple and blue. I gotta get his head if I feel like it, but very fun. So the other thing I did was, I think I'm gonna do this letter here. Let's do it in an orange. Orange? Blue. Blue. Let's do blue. Ooh, that's nice and bright. I've lost my train of thought while I was trying to get the color. What they say, if it was important, you'll remember. Very fun. Very, very fun. I think I'm gonna paint the rest of this butterfly. And you can kind of, I think you can kind of treat this like you would a watercolor if you don't want to do it completely. Fun. I like it. And like I said, I don't have to do everything because it's just, you know, adding a touch of color. And we'll give him a yellow head. One thing I did do on this one is I did like do a shadow around the outside of a number just to kind of highlight it a little bit. So let's see what we can do. Let's maybe do one of these like that. And see how that turns out. So since I'm painting the back of it, the color is behind the black ink that is on this side. So it is just a shadow on there. I think you need a darker color in that one. That was purple. Let's find a darker purple. That is a darker purple. Look how fun that is. That really came out cool. I like that. I mean, I could probably play with this all day, coloring most of it in, and it seems to have been doing the rough side as the black part and painting this side. Doesn't seem to be a problem. I seem to have no problem with that. Let's just add a little color to that. Very fun. I love it. Okay. I think I'm going to call it done. I colored those two flowers. I colored that flower in there. I got a yellow flower, a purple flower. Let's do a pink flower. So, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you, whoops, went too far. See, talking and walking and chewing gum at the same time, not helpful. Yeah, if you've got some stamps and some tissue paper that you decide you want to play with it, go for it. I said you don't need alcohol ink markers to do this. Watercolor should probably work. I would just not use too much water on it. And, whoops. Okay. I was like, I got the color on there, but I didn't. That's on that side. I wonder if that. Now I'm probably messing with, playing with fire here. Trying to use the blender to get rid of that. Yep, not gonna work. Well, a little bit. A little bit. I lightened a little. That's okay. If I put that down somewhere, I could put a little label right on its corner. Yeah, I like it. Fun. Well, I'll end up playing and making some more on my own here. But for right now, I have two new ones that I can play with, which is awesome. They really do like that 5 in the back painted. That was fun. And yeah, I'm not mad about it at all. I love it. I'm going to make sure I try to do that resist kind of thing in the future on some other ones. Maybe make some more little templates to go over these and keep in with them. Yeah, I like it. Okay, well, that is going to be it for me today. I appreciate each and every one of you stop by. If you'd like to leave a comment, ask me any questions, I would be happy to answer it. And as usual, I hope you all have a wonderful and creative day. Bye for now.